let's get into the games. Chiefs plus 3.5 in Baltimore. Total set at 44.5. This is obviously the AFC Championship game. Ravens coming off a demolishing win against the Texans, where we kind of leaned the Texans. Again, ended up leaning the Ravens, and that was mainly because I didn't think the Texans were going to be able to play the game that they wanted to play in the weather that there was, and we kind of saw that. Obviously, the Ravens defense really came home and played exactly how everyone expected them to come out. I think a big issue for them was the Texans, was their lack of ability to get the game going on the ground. 14 rushes for 38 yards is not going to win you a football game, especially against Baltimore, who had 230 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. So now talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs obviously won a, not necessarily a shootout, but a very close one in Buffalo that went back and forth. Crazy ending with the Diggs miscatch and Josh Allen deciding to throw to the end zone when they needed 9 yards. I thought that was very weird. And then obviously the missed field goal. So the question becomes, can the Chiefs really beat this Ravens team? I'm leaning no, but it's Mahomes as an underdog. So it's like that whole script comes back, and it's like, how can we continuously back this guy when his back's turned? And, Kelsey's getting back 2 touchdowns in that game.
My instincts to Taylor Swift. Did you catch that?
I did. Everyone caught that. My instincts say Ravens.
Because
no, he didn't. Instincts say Ravens. What do you think? We're gonna talk a lot about this one, I feel.
I also like the hook doesn't scare me, to be honest with you. Normally, like, the hook scares me away, and it seems like people are pretty split about it.
I didn't even say that. That's a good point. So
there's a couple of books that have the Chiefs at +4 now, but it's still 3.5. The bets are split 49% to the Chiefs, 51% to the Ravens as we record this Tuesday evening. And there are 61,000 bets already on this game. So, like, that is more than some games that we saw on Sundays throughout the week.
Yeah.
But 67% of the money is on the Ravens already. So the sharps are already on it, and the books don't care. They like their position from what it looks like, unless your books move to 4, which I think that's still negligible. I think that's just a ploy to get a little bit more action on the Chiefs. And that total has sat pretty tight to where it opened. It opened at 45. It's now at 44.5. But the public's loving the over 70% of the bets, but then for percentage of money, it's the same exact split, 49% to the over, 51% to the under. The same split for the money that we saw for the public on the spread. So there is a sharp edge on the under of 21% right now, but that'll move. That'll probably go down a tad, I imagine. I doubt that we're going to see. If we see sharp edges over 20-some% in the conference championships, I would be pretty surprised, just due to the sheer volume of bets that we're going to see.
There was last year. The Eagles had a 22% sharp differential last year, and they covered, obviously.
In the Super Bowl?
No, in the championship.
Oh, in the conference championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously did not remember that, or else I wouldn't have said that.
It's okay. I did say it earlier. Obviously, you don't listen to me, but that's okay.
I'm taking notes as we go.
And he's taking minutes. No more notepad.
Yeah, I'm like, that's why I looked to the left this year instead of having to write down like last year. It's all digital, which is nice.
I'm leaning under, but yeah, I'm with you. I don't really see. I'm not scared of the 3.5. I like that. You're seeing books move it to 4. The issue with the number is Lamar is like historically bad in his career above 3.5, but he's like really good under 3.5 as a favorite. So those question marks come into play. This year, the Ravens are 8-2 ATS between when they're favored under 7 points. So that's great. Obviously, I think this year Mahomes has been a dog twice, and he's covered both games. So 2-0 ATS this year are the Ravens. Game-wise, like I talked about the ground game for the Texans versus the Ravens. This is what's going to dominate here in the Chiefs game as well. The Chiefs defense, we know, is very good this year. It's one of the reasons that they've made it this far. Their rush defense is the most lacking area of their defense.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And we saw that with the Bills managing 182 yards on the ground last week against Kansas City. So, and now you're taking the best rush offense in football, number one rushing yards per attempt, number one in rushing yards, number one rushing DVOA, and you're putting up against this Chiefs defense that is, not so great against the run. And Lamar's going to be home. This is great coach versus great coach. There's no coaching mismatch here. There's two straight playoff games on the road. I think it's really tough for Mahomes. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that my angle here, and I, actually, let me back up. I'm going to add to your point. Like, the opponents only ran around 41% of the time against the Chiefs this season, and that ranks in the bottom third. But when you put that into perspective, right, a lot of teams are playing from behind, so they're not going to run the ball as often against the Chiefs. So that's why that number is down in the bottom third of the league. But when they have, to your point, teams have found success because that Chiefs defensive line and the linebackers have allowed 4.5 yards per rush, which is 8th worst in the league. So they're in the bottom quarter of rush yards allowed per play when the team runs the ball. Right now, Lamar's rush total is sitting around 64.5 from what I have. I don't know what you have on FanDuel or DraftKings.
Yeah, that's the same.
But it's pretty heavily juiced to the over, at least where I'm looking on the offshore books. I've got minus 143, but then you can do it on underdog, like without the juice, because you're doing it as a fantasy game. So you can do higher or lower on underdog for 64.5. So it takes the sportsbook juice out and allows you to put it into a fantasy lineup. So that's what I'm going to do, DJ, for my first play is putting Lamar Jackson into my underdog lineup. I think my fear is that by the time this podcast releases, that the line will shift a little bit and will go up. I assume that it'll probably go up 2-3 yards. They normally don't raise it by just one when it's juiced that heavily. I still like it all the way up to around 68, 69, 70 range. I probably won't take it if it's like 70.5. When you're looking at how he's performed this year, he hit it last game, but the prior to against Miami and San Fran, he did not. But then against Jacksonville, it's 97, the Rams 70, and then Houston last week he had 100 yards for 11 attempts. As the season has gone on, Lamar's attempts have gone up. So in 4 of the last 6, he's had 11 or more rushing attempts. And obviously they eased up a bit on the rushing attempts against San Fran and against Miami, where he had 7 and 6, because they were beating the brakes off of both those teams. He doesn't need to run the ball. They just hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
So with his rushing attempts trending up, I'm not going to lock it in yet, but his rushing attempts total is set at 10.5 on underdog. And on the offshore books I am looking at, it is set at 10.5 as well. But that's like a minus 110 type deal, which minus 110 in a prop menu is better than the usual minus 115 you see, but that's besides the point. So I lean the carries for him, but I also love the rushing yards. We saw James Cook continue to do really well as Josh Allen had 2 rushing touchdowns against the Chiefs. So, I mean, it's right there for the taking. They're not going to fix that overnight.
Yeah, my counterpoint was going to be like, you might think that Spagnuolo should be able to, stop Lamar and have some sort of plan because of how prolific he is running the ball. And that was going to be my counterpoint. And I thought the line was a little too high for Lamar. That's kind of why I took my prop a different direction. But Josh Allen ran 12 times for 72 yards. So and 2 touchdowns, like you said. So nothing really to be too scared about because Lamar is better at running the ball than Josh Allen. Conversely, my prop is also a rushing one, but I'm leaning more towards Gus Edwards. I think Justice Hill ended up getting a lot more of the yards last week, but that was because 42 yards came in not necessarily garbage time, but garbage time. 42 yards came in the fourth quarter for him. Edwards versus Justice Hill has been the question, obviously, the last several weeks for the Ravens, but Hill is more of the pass catching back, and in this game, I really think they're going to stick to the run game and give him more carries, and he should be able to hit the over 43.5. I think is very, very doable. I'm sorry, over 41.5 right now is the line. He's hit that. He didn't hit it last week against Houston, but obviously didn't really need to when you're up by 30 plus. He hit it against Miami and against Jacksonville. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here for Gus Edwards, especially because they're going to run the ball so much in the lack of a defense for a rush defense for the Chiefs. Not to say that they're not good, because they're better than a lot of people, but they're definitely the worst side on the Chiefs defense. The last thing I want to say about this game is the Chiefs offense, because we've been really talking about the Ravens. On the other side of the ball, you've got the Chiefs, and now they have to travel twice, which, they've never done in the Mahomes era. And I think that adds a dynamic. I think weather's meant to be fine, so that really won't play a factor. But at some point, I really think that their luck is going to come crashing down, and all of those drops that we saw at the beginning of the season and what plagued them throughout the regular season is going to come to fruition. This defense will have answers for Travis Kelce, whatever they have. They will have answers for Rashid Rice. It's the number one ranked DVOA, defensively DVOA in football this year. They are that good. They stopped the prolific Texans offense to 10 points. They held it to 10 points, and they are going to be able to. I don't want to definitively say it, but I think that they're going to be able to really handle anything that the Chiefs throw against them, and that's why I lean the under too. I think it'll be close, just in the nature of Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid and what they can do. But ultimately, I think the Ravens come out and probably win. My guess is 19-14.
Oh, that low! You're going that low scoring.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be low.
Wow. Yeah, that's like really fucking low.
I think it's gonna be really slow.
Hey, 19-14 covers the spread, whether you set it at 4 or 3.5. Am I right? So it's not a bad prediction. DJ, this Ravens defense is a turnover forcing machine. I mean, it's a testament to how good they've been. But they're getting an interception a game, which is tied for 5th best in the league, just behind their counterparts in the NFC Championship of the San Francisco 49ers at 1.3. They reigned first. Actually, the Chicago Bears were right behind tied with them, which is kind of surprising.
It's insane.
So it's not always a testament to how good the defense is, right?
Bears futures next year. Take a win to the Super Bowl.
I thought we were doing that this year. But anywho, with them getting an interception a game, and also they have gotten, so that's 18 interceptions this year, as well as 15 forced fumbles for 33 total turnovers in their favor. I'm also going to be looking at some stuff like that, where I'm not necessarily saying, hey, just go ahead and rip Patrick Mahomes to throw a pick, especially in the playoffs, all that. But do you fade the hype when everyone's just making all these Brady comparisons, and this defense is quite literally a brick wall? We saw the great system, the well-oiled machine, fully healthy of the San Francisco 49ers run into a wall against this team. We also saw the Colts beat this team in week 3. So I don't know. But we're definitely going to get the most locked-in version of the Ravens on defense. I have no doubts about that. But that is going to be another one that I'm leading and potentially looking to, if it is a value adder, to look at Patrick Mahomes to throw a pick, because they've got one. I mean, they are averaging an interception a game, and they are averaging 1.5 turnovers in general a game. Like, these guys are turnover machines. So I think there's definitely ways to take advantage of that, but it's also baked into a lot of stuff too, so just be cautious when you do it. But yeah, I lean Ravens spread 3.5. I lean Lamar Jackson over 10.5 rushing attempts. I also lean Patrick Mahomes throw an interception, but what I will lock in is that Lamar Jackson higher than 64.5 rushing yards. And I'm going to do that with Underdog Fantasy. Be sure to use promo code Happy Hour when signing up for Underdog. It's a lot of fun. I am once again, DJ, going to have to fill out a tax form for Underdog because I've won so much money on them. I've already won $1,000 on them this year, which is awesome. And it's not just me flexing to the podcast. It is like a really fun platform to do drafts and stuff on. And I'm 23 days into the year, and my unit size is $20. So we're doing really well over here with the drafts as well as with the NFL futures that cashed for us. A lot of those season-long bets that we did. It's just an overall really fun platform. So they've been a great partner to us. You guys have been great listeners to us as well. So why not give you a code where you can get 100% match on your first deposit when you sign up using our promo code Happy Hour. So Be sure to take advantage of that as I use Lamar Jackson as my first leg for my fantasy lineup.
I love it. Yeah, great underdog ad here, but also great plays from Andy. I love them. It's going to be a fun one. I feel like this one should have been in the evening. I think this is obviously going to be the more questionable matchup when it comes to like everyone more so expects the Lions to lose to the Niners. So I am curious why they put this one in the morning. Do you have any idea?
It's a time zone factor, I'm sure.
Oh, good point.
It's probably
yeah,
just the time zone factor.
That's fair. That makes sense. Okay, moving to the one in the time zone, the one in Santa Clara. This has been awesome. I'm really excited to get into this. And then, so our plan will be, obviously, we just kind of finished up the conference championships. We'll probably have a short episode next week, just kind of talking about the season, talking about what we think the Super Bowl is going to be like. We'll hit a little bit, maybe of some player props and stuff, but not necessarily what we're betting for the Super Bowl. And then the week following will be Super Bowl discussion purely, finalizing everything, kind of bringing up more trends and stuff. Probably 2 smaller episodes as opposed to like one big one about the Super Bowl. But we'll talk about it and let you guys know on Twitter if anything else changes. As always, appreciate the support. It's been so much fun. Excited to get into the championships weeks, Andy. It's going to be great.
You know what I'm even more excited for, DJ, is the random ass Super Bowl props that we're about to get here in just a few days. It's going to be absolutely beautiful to just see not your regular couple hundred bets next to one game. There's going to be several different menus to explore, and that is the beauty of the Super Bowl betting season. So I can't wait to get into that. Can't wait to dive into this conference championship a little bit more with you as the week goes along. Looking forward to your article that comes out on happyhoursports.net every Sunday. So be sure to check that out.
If you're watching on YouTube, link in description, as always.
Yeah, man. A pleasure as always. Best of luck. Let's cash this underdog lineup. We haven't done one of these live on the pod before, so I think it's fun. And yeah, the boys bet better with beer.